Friends, first came the statement about no nuclear weapons, and just hours later, B-2s were in the sky. The most stealthy and expensive bomber on the planet was sent into action, and explosions thundered in the very heart of the country. This isn't a show of force, it's a signal that a new phase has begun. And now there's only one question. If they're bringing in hardware with almost no equal, what's the next move? Alright friends, you're watching Grassroots Gazette. And trust me, this is going to be interesting. Thanks in advance for your like and subscription. It really means a lot. Get comfortable and let's get started. The statement sounded almost reassuring. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi reported that inspectors found no signs of nuclear weapons in Iran. On the surface, it seemed like a reason to ease tensions, a reason for a pause. But instead of a pause, a new wave of bombings began. Almost immediately after the "nothing found" announcement, U.S. strategic aviation was deployed. B-2 Spirits took to the sky, the most stealthy and among the most expensive bombers in the world. A machine built to strike deep into defenses, to destroy fortified and highly protected targets. And here the contrast is striking. If no nuclear weapons were officially found, why are assets designed to penetrate deep layered defenses being used? Why deploy aircraft typically reserved for the most sensitive and strategically critical operations? Now pray, there's nothing like it in the world. America's most powerful bomber is going on the hunt. This isn't just a flashy headline anymore, it reflects reality. The appearance of a B-2 in the sky always sends a signal. The targets are serious. The B-2 isn't for flag waving, not for symbolic pressure. It's a tool for precise, heavy strikes. Its deployment means the stakes have been raised, and the key question that emerges in the first hours of this new wave, if the official reason, nuclear weapons, is absent. What was the real trigger for escalation? The answer will determine whether this is a limited operation or the start of a far deeper, longer campaign. When a B-2 Spirit appears in the sky, the main question isn't just where it's heading, it's what's in its bomb bay. According to military analysts, such sorties can involve the use of bunker-busting munitions like the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. This is one of the heaviest non-nuclear bombs in the U.S. arsenal. Its purpose isn't to destroy surface-level targets, but to punch through meters of reinforced concrete, reach deep underground, and destroy fortified command centers, storage facilities, and strategic assets. This weapon isn't for show. It's not used for flashy headlines. It's meant for targets that can't be neutralized by conventional airstrikes, and that's where the tension spikes. If such munitions are indeed being deployed, it means strikes are hitting deeply protected targets inside Iran, possibly underground infrastructure, possibly military factories or command centers located within fortified complexes. Parallels inevitably arise with the 12-day war of 2025, when strategic aviation was already used to hit heavily protected targets. That marked a turning point in the campaign. And now, the appearance of B-2s evokes similar associations. It's important to understand the use of these weapons is a signal of serious intent. It's a shift from tactical strikes to an attempt to alter the very structure of the opponent's military infrastructure. When bombs capable of punching through mountains and reinforced concrete are deployed, this is no longer a localized episode. This is a strategic operation. And if these are indeed the munitions being used, the question what triggered this becomes even sharper, because tools like these are only used when the targets are deemed critically important. After the first reports of B-2 Spirit sorties, details began to emerge about exactly where the strikes were hitting. Statements from the United States Central Command, CENTCOM, were very specific. The targets include command centers, strategic sites, and facilities connected to missile production. This is an important detail. These aren't random bombings, nor are they symbolic strikes on secondary infrastructure. There's a clear sense of a methodical campaign aimed at weakening Iran's military capabilities. Command centers are the brain of the control system. Missile factories are its arms. Strategic sites are its nervous system. If strikes are focused on these elements, the logic becomes clear. The goal isn't a one-off effect, but the gradual dismantling of the opponent's military architecture. And here the systematic nature is key. First, suppress air defenses, then deploy heavy munitions. Now, targeted strikes on production and command infrastructure. It forms a sequential pattern. Tactics win individual battles. Destroying infrastructure changes the enemy's capabilities for months ahead. When strategic aviation strikes factories, it threatens future missile production, logistics, and stockpile replenishment. This isn't about today's fight, it's about tomorrow's balance of power. And this is where the tension builds differently. not through explosions, but through the sense of cold, methodical planning. If the strikes continue at this pace, the consequences could extend far beyond the current phase of the conflict. And then "now pray" stops being an emotional slogan and becomes a warning. This is about a deep transformation of the entire military infrastructure. Reports started coming in almost simultaneously. A series of powerful explosions, fires, columns of smoke over industrial areas. Then, clarification. The strikes weren't on the outskirts, but within Tehran itself. And at that moment, the emotional impact shifts. When the discussion was limited to military facilities, factories, and command centers, the conflict felt like a confrontation between armies. But when explosions are heard in the capital, when footage shows smoke rising from central districts, the perception changes. War is no longer somewhere far away. It has reached the heart of the country. Reports indicate damage in both industrial zones and densely populated areas. The full scale is still being assessed, but the mere fact that the capital was hit sharply raises the tension. The capital isn't just a city, it's a symbol of state resilience, the center of governance, the country's showcase. If strategic aviation can operate over the capital, it creates a sense of vulnerability at the highest level. Against this backdrop, reports of B-2 Spirit deployment take on a new meaning. These aren't peripheral targets. The strikes hit critical points. The psychological effect is significant. Even if the targets are strictly military, the sound of explosions in the capital changes how the conflict is perceived, both domestically and internationally. It's a signal. The geography of the strikes is expanding. It's a signal. The stakes are higher. Every new explosion reinforces the sense that this phase is not the limit. Because when the capital itself is in the strike zone, there's room for further escalation. And the question becomes even more alarming. If the strikes are reaching the center, what will be the next target? The appearance of B-2 Spirits in an active conflict zone is always a signal. These aircraft aren't sent into skies fully controlled by the opponent. Their strength lies in stealth, but even stealth requires a certain level of suppression of enemy defenses. And this is where the most sensitive question arises. If the B-2s are operating with confidence, does this indicate serious problems in Iran's air defense system? Modern air defense is a multi-layered structure. Radar stations, long and medium-range surface-to-air missile batteries, mobile launchers, and systems for detecting low observable targets. For a strategic bomber to strike the capital and deeply protected targets, this system must either be weakened or partially disrupted. Parallels with last year's 12-day war are hard to ignore. During those early days, key elements of air defense were suppressed, giving aviation more freedom of action. If the scenario is repeating, it could mean the skies are once again transparent for high-tech strike platforms. And a transparent sky is a turning point because air superiority changes the dynamics of a conflict. It allows for deeper, more precise strikes, the disruption of logistics, command centers, and infrastructure, all without constant threat of interception. If air defenses are indeed struggling, the balance of power shifts. Strikes on factories, command centers, and the capital then aren't isolated incidents, they become part of a systemic operation. It's at this moment that the strategic subtext becomes clear. This isn't just about the explosions happening now. It's about one side's ability to control the battlefield. And when one side gains the advantage in the air, the next phase of the conflict can become far harsher and much larger in scale. Amid reports of unrestricted strategic aviation operations, news emerges that could sharply shift the tone of the entire campaign. Iran's Tasnim news agency claims that its air defense crews shot down a US F-15. If confirmed, this would be the first serious counterpoint to the transparent sky narrative. While B-2 Spirits strike strategic targets, tactical aircraft provide escort, cover, and suppression of specific threats, the F-15 isn't just a plane, it's the workhorse of strike and escort missions. Its loss isn't mere statistics, it's a signal, especially against the backdrop of previous Pentagon statements about losses attributed to friendly fire. Earlier, 3 fighters were reported lost for that reason. Now, the claim of a shootdown by Iranian air defenses adds a new layer of uncertainty. A key question arises. Is this a one-off incident amid a complex air environment, or a sign that Iran's air defense system is adapting and recovering? If the latter is closer to reality, the situation becomes far more complicated. It means that even with part of the defense suppressed, active segments remain capable of inflicting serious damage. These are the moments that restore the drama. Because the war stops looking one-sided. On one side, strategic bombers, heavy munitions, strikes on infrastructure. On the other, attempts to hold the sky and demonstrate that retaliation is possible. And the fate of the F-15 pilot, not officially reported yet, adds a human dimension to the dry statistics. If this is an isolated incident, the campaign will continue at its current pace. If it's a trend, the balance of power could start to shift. And at that moment, the tension returns with renewed intensity. Strategic B-2 spirits in the sky, possible use of heavy bunker-busting munitions, strikes on command centers and missile factories, explosions in Tehran, reports of a possible F-15 loss. The picture comes together into a single, alarming mosaic. This is no longer a series of isolated incidents. It's a phase of pressure where each side tests the limits of the other. And if the sky really hosts America's most stealthy and technologically advanced bomber, it means the targets are considered strategic. The most powerful bomber has been sent on the hunt. That phrase stops being a metaphor. The B-2 isn't used for show. Its mission is to penetrate deep into areas where conventional aviation risks interception and strike targets deemed critical to Iran's military potential. But every climax raises the main question. What's next? If this is a new wave, where is its limit? If munitions capable of destroying underground fortifications are in play, does that mean the next targets lie even deeper? If air defenses are only partially suppressed, will the next phase be harsher and broader? While some sources report destruction and fires, others mention resistance and counteractions. The balance remains fragile. Any new incident could shift the perception of the entire campaign. And it's in this sense of uncertainty that the true tension lies. When equipment described as without equal is deployed, it almost always means the stakes are at their maximum. Now pray, not as a slogan, but as a formula for tense anticipation. Because if this wave is only the beginning, the next one could be even deeper and more sensitive. And with that, we wrap up today's report. What do you think about all this? I'm genuinely looking forward to your thoughts in the comments below. A special welcome to new subscribers and double appreciation to those who've been with us from the start.